What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. Back at you. Chaos to come back. Today was, I don't know, I got home about half hour ago, I guess, from today's cycling and working at the bakery. And I was all, I'm like the Tasmanian devil when I come in the door, I tell you what. And today, wow, a lot of stuff today, but half hour goes by and I'm like, oh, boom, and I'm like ready to fall asleep. And I'm gonna feel it tomorrow. Um, I rode the Red Rocket to the bakery today, and after yesterday's, it's amazing how much better that bike is. Right off the bat, as soon as I started riding, I was like, this is an improvement. The equivalent is if you have a pair if you have a vehicle and your tires are worn out, like say they're past, like they're due for replacement. Tires take a while to wear out. A pair of good tires, some good Michelins or a good brand, they're gonna last a while, and they're gonna wear out slowly, and you're really not even gonna notice over the course of time. But you'll see the tread. You need to replace these things, and oops, I gotta adjust myself here. You'll replace your tires, and at some point, when you replace the tires, it's like, whoa! You'll notice a huge difference in how your vehicle drives. It's amazing how something like, obviously tires are an important part of the drivability of your vehicle. It's a safety factor too, but it's just amazing how when something like that wears down slowly over time, you really don't notice it. And it makes a difference when you replace it. It's the same thing with I had to replace the shocks on my Wrangler. It was getting to the point where I'd hit a pothole and it would be like bang. It would just be like very, very harsh when I'd hit a pothole. And so I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna replace these shocks. And it was like driving a brand new vehicle. And the tires were fairly new on the vehicle as well. So between replacing the tires and shocks, it's like, whoa, it makes such a huge difference. And so today, I was expecting it to be a little bit problematic, I guess, because I just ripped the whole drivetrain apart and changed it out yesterday. Cogs, chain rings, all of it. And nothing. It was like perfect. I had a couple of sloppy shifts, like twice. Once on the way in, once on the way home. But it way better than normal. The shifting is way more smooth than it's ever been. Man, shifting is way smoother than it's ever been. Probably ever on that bike. And just the smoothness of it. Like you could feel it when in the pedaling. Like I could feel it as I pedaled. I could feel it in every way imaginable. And just solid. Like it increased my average speed by almost 5 miles an hour. Just replacing something like that. The I don't think there was any resistance. I don't know how to explain it, but it was a much faster bike today. It just felt more solid. power to the road was much more solid. Um, it's like the bike I remember it being when I first built it. Um, just amazing how much difference it made changing out that chain and all that stuff. Much money well spent. Money very well spent. It did cost a little bit of money to do that, but and changing the gear ratios to having the same top end gear for the highest gear ratio available, but dropping down to a much smaller gear on the low end of the gear ratios made a big difference. I put it in the smallest gear going up one small hill just to see what it would do, how it would feel. And I'm like, if I was out on a long cross country ride in the mountains, like if I had to ride up a steep mountain, something that's going to take an hour to climb, something in the Blue Ridge Mountains, North Carolina, somewhere in that kind of a scenario, Pennsylvania, going across the state, that would do. That would definitely, that low end of the gear ratios would definitely be all I need on the road. I wouldn't need anything lower than that. It was definitely noticeable. I'll definitely use the front chain rings interchangeably a lot more than I did before. For the most part, I've been keeping it in the large chain ring. I almost never switch to the small chain ring on that bike. Today I was switching back and forth throughout the day. It's much better. The cassette on the rear wheel is not much different than what I already had, but the low gear is a couple of teeth bigger than the low gear I had before. But the steps are noticeably different as you switch between gears in the middle of the range. But it's good. I mean, it's not ridiculous. It's definitely, it's basically the gear range you would have on the rear cassette. It's the cassette you would normally have on a vintage mountain bike from that era, from the mid 90s, early 2000s era. And so it's got a wide range of gears, and I like it. I'm really happy with what I did there. I had pretty much no issues. Any issues were small. It was really nice every time I looked down at my chain, just seeing a shiny chrome, blinged out, brand new looking chain, and everything just being shiny and new. The cassette is kind of a letdown in terms of the cassette that I got rid of was a much higher end, more expensive cassette from a top-notch mountain bike back in the probably mid 90s. It was an XTR, Shimano XTR rear cassette, and I wish I could have found something like that. I don't like to downgrade a component when I'm replacing something. I always like to try to upgrade, but in this case, I'll consider it to be an upgrade because new and shiny and functional and just working good is better than an old worn out drivetrain. I mean, it's just the way it is. And this was faster. On the way in and the way home, it felt fast. Much faster. Even Strava told me my ride home today was really fast. Much faster than my normal average speed. And so that Red Rocket, speed-wise, was comparable to the Specialized, the Silver Bullet. It was a big difference. And now that I'm using the front chain, now that I'm going to use the front derailleur more, I think I'm really interested in putting a thumb shifter on that handlebar. I kind of looked at it on the way home today, and I was like, I could get an old school mountain bike friction thumb shifter to mount to that handlebar exactly where I want it. move the bell to the other side. That I've got a bell on the handlebars, and the bell came in handy today. I'm glad. In fact, I had to lubricate the inside of the bell because it was acting a fool and it was giving me a hard time. And I'm glad I did that because today that bell, oh my God, I needed it today. But on the way in, it was pretty uneventful. Nothing worth mentioning other than the bike felt smooth. I'm glad I spent the time yesterday to make that happen. I started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I was done at 7. Like 7 on the dot. And I didn't get to bed until like midnight 30 last night, and I had to get up at 5. I ate a little bit, but it was also just putting everything away, putting away the bike tools. And I'm not, like, my place is trashed. It's not even clean. I did a couple of things, but I took a shower, I shaved. I didn't want to go into the bakery looking like I did yesterday. And it makes me feel better, too. But that was definitely a day well spent. I mean, it took a lot out of me in terms of, it took rest and relaxation out of me. And it wasn't fun to do because I was beat yesterday. I was really exhausted. And I'm going to feel it again tomorrow. It's every time I do this bakery shit with the 40 miles of cycling plus working hard, it hits the next day. It's hitting me right now. Like, I felt good when I walked in the door. I felt really good. I had energy. I'm like, ooh, I'm energetic. Sat in this chair for about 20 minutes and I'm like, boo. Like, not like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pass out. Bakery was pretty uneventful. I mean, just lifting. It was, we had a big order today. It was like 50 hours. It was significantly more than what we normally get, but not double. It was a lot of stuff. A lot of lifting. And then I had to go to the bank. And this tired ass bank, I'm going to do a review on them. This bank is horrible that I go to here in Houston, and I was about to switch. Banks before this fucking landlord started his bullshit. I was actually going to go open an account at a credit union right in this plaza that I can walk to from here. And granted, they don't have that many branches. Maybe they don't even have more than one. I don't know. But I was going to open up at a credit union because it was right there. But anyway, I go to the bank today during my lunch break to deposit a check, and the door's locked. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's Monday. Is there some sort of bank holiday? I'm trying to figure. And then somebody comes up to the door and they're like, our internet's down. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. There's always something. This bank is just... It's the worst bank I've dealt with in a long time. I want to get my money moved out of there. But it was kind of a mixed blessing in disguise because I walked in I had to deposit a check that I got in the mail. And the guy was like, well, the teller was like, he let me in the bank. And he goes, I can take it and then I can just deposit it for you when our system's back up and running. And I was about to do that. And then I was like, what about your ATM? Is that working? I'm like, can I do a deposit in your ATM? I didn't even think about that. And they have an ATM there that you can walk up to and it accepts. You can deposit checks. I'm assuming you can deposit cash in it too. But it's not every ATM will do that. But it ended up being the best thing for me to deposit a check in the ATM, because then I knew that it was deposited. I had a receipt showing it was deposited. The receipt shows the image of the check that was deposited, and I should have credit for that deposit tomorrow morning and the full available balance if I don't already, but I don't even feel like checking. But I'm telling you, everything about this bank sucks. And I just want to move my money, but I don't want to move it until I move. Till I know where I'm going to live, because that's going to dictate, like, okay, what banks are close to me. I don't want to open up an account at another bank and then all of a sudden move somewhere and there's no branches anywhere near me. But it was good to know that I can make these deposits at this bank's ATM. They keep telling me that they have mobile deposit on their app. I can't find it. Or I would just have deposited it from home over the weekend. But I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'm old school, I guess. I feel safer doing it at the bank with an actual teller, but it really doesn't matter these days. But knowing that I can go to the bank after work and just make a deposit at the ATM, even if the bank is closed, that's good enough for me right now. And I know they have another branch somewhere within, closer to here where I live, like within a 4 or 5 mile trip. I just got to figure out where it is and see if it's on my way to and from the bakery, because that would help. But it's really not going to be a factor that much longer, because, I'm going to move one way or another. I hope that, I don't really know what's going to happen with the apartment that I want, because this guy is just kind of, the way he was jerking me around, and, even though he was friendly yesterday and he told me to call him on Thursday. And after we talked, he told me he was going to put me in his contacts. And that way, if I call him on Thursday morning, he told me to call him in the morning on Thursday. How early, I don't know. Just wait till I get up and just call him. It's the 15th, which is perfect. If he says he's ready to do it, I don't know what kind of, he's going to want to do some sort of vetting on me. And, I don't know, like, what I'm afraid of is, even though I told him what he'd find on my background check, what would really piss me off is if this guy said, okay, let's do it, you can move in here. And I go and, show him that he wants to see, and it's not uncommon for people to want to see that you have income. You can show them. I can redact bank statements and just show deposits. I'm not going to give them all my personal information, but I can show deposits. I have paycheck stubs from the bakery going back to September. I keep everything. So I have my banks. I download my bank statements and paycheck stubs, and take photos of every check I get from clients and all that. So, I'll be able to show that I make money. And he didn't care how much. He just wanted to, he didn't say 3 times the rent or anything, that he didn't really say anything along those lines. And then he wanted some personal references, which that's no problem. I can easily give him a few people to call. But what I'm going to be mad about is if he tells me on Thursday that, oh yeah, we can do this, but then he wants to go through that process of vetting me, and then gets to the end of the month and decides not to let me live there. And then that puts me out and fucks me for being able to move at the end of the month. So I'm hoping, and these are all just things that I get. This is just me doing what I do, getting worried about something that's not real yet. I don't even know if I got the place. I could call him on Thursday morning and he could say, "Look, I think I'm going to rent it out to this other couple or whatever." Like, he's got a couple coming to look at it. He might look at that and say, two people making money living together. But the last people he rented to were a couple, and they got into a bunch of fights, and he said they were constantly fighting and bickering and like drama, and like it was loud. And he still won't tell me. He didn't really say, like, did he have to kick them out, or he just said they left, they had to leave. And I don't know if that means they had to move out because neither one of them could afford it on their own, but they could afford it living together, or if it meant he told them to leave because they were, fighting and throwing dishes or whatever the fuck, an angry couple that's about to break up starts doing. Maybe they were doing some white trash hillbilly shit like Trailer Park Boys, I don't know. And it's too classy of a neighborhood to have Trailer Park Boys shit going on. So I don't know. I'm just gonna hang in there until Thursday and see what happens. And if I feel like I'm getting jerked around again on Thursday, I'm gonna have to make a move on this other place that I have bookmarked. And if that ends up being taken, oh man, I'm gonna be in a jam. But it just keeps showing up as available, and I can see why that one's a hard sell. I'll give you a description of it. The one that I want, as I've talked about before, I've mentioned it more than once. It's a detached garage of a nice house in the suburb that I live in right now, but it's farther back in the cul-de-sac area away from this main road. So there's no traffic back there. Especially the street he's on, it's very cul-de-sac-y. It's very back there. There's only like a few houses on that street, and you would only go down that street if you live, like, it's quiet. I walked back there, and I've been back there more than once. I went right by his place on my way to the GameStop interview, and I noticed as I was riding through that neighborhood, I'm like, wow, this is really nice back here. I remember thinking that day. Nice for a suburb. I'm not a suburbs guy, but if I had to live in the suburbs, I would prefer an older development. Something that was built before this McMansion bullshit started. Nothing. I don't like the new developments that are out. I just think they're crap. They're cheesy. Like, the older ones look more like a real neighborhood. They went from like looking like an actual neighborhood to being just fake and plastic and just dumbass shit. There's a difference. The modern housing developments are fucking trash compared to what these used to be. And the older ones that I ride through now, all the trees are mature. And so, like, there's some really nice neighborhoods that were probably not what they are today. But because of the age of these neighborhoods, it's just hard to explain. It's like it feels like an actual neighborhood. It doesn't feel like a fake McMansion douchebag suburb neighborhood, fake, where everything is just fake and plastic and just, I don't know. And all the houses look exactly the same. Whereas these other neighborhoods, they had every individual house is different. So I don't know. I like the neighborhood enough, but it's a detached garage from the house. There's a covered walkway, awning or something. I don't know what the term is for it, but a covered roof outdoor area between the garage and the house, but they're not attached to each other at all, other than there's a covered roof that connects from the garage to the house. And it's a 2-story garage. On the first floor, marble floors, beautiful kitchen. The stove has a range with an extra the long burner so that you could put a cast iron griddle on top of it and have even heating all the way around your griddle instead of two hot spots on the griddle. Really dope oven, oven range combo. Big fridge. And, just a basic kitchen, nothing crazy, no dishwasher, nothing, but nice. Everything's nice, and all the construction, everything, I pay attention to the details. I notice, I have attention to detail. A beautiful tub and shower with a tile wall. It's just a really well done place. If I took you on a tour, you'd all love it. You'd be like, wow, this is dope. The second, and then it's an upstairs garage, so it's a 2-story garage on the upstairs section. It's just a big wide open room with windows all the way around, natural light coming in, carpeted floor, lot of space though, a lot of space. Like, my possessions would look empty, and this place would look empty after I bring everything I own in it. Like, it would just be a wide open empty space with almost nothing in it. It would feel weird. It would honestly feel weird after I move in, because it's going to feel very, until I get a few I don't know, I don't want to get, I want to get a car. But I would probably get a few pieces of furniture in the meantime. A bed, a dining room table, a couch, coffee table, a TV. Try to make it feel like home if I move in there. So anyway, and then there's an upstairs bathroom with a toilet and a sink, small bathroom. And then there's the downstairs bathroom is a big bathroom with the, tub and shower, sink area, toilet, and then it's got a nice storage area under the stairs that I could literally, there's so much space to store things, but there aren't really any closets. So that storage area under the stairs would be like a main storage closet area, but it's not, there's no door to it, but it's tucked away. This place would be dope. This place would be really dope. The other place that's on my list is it's another tiny house, but it's not tiny. It's like a shotgun style home that was just built, but it's long. It's got, when you walk in, it's kind of like, it's got a door right in the middle, and it's like literally a shotgun house, but brand new. Nobody's lived in it yet. So when you walk in, there's no porch out front, but when you walk in, it's got a big area, kitchen. Now, there was no stove and oven when I looked at it, but they said they were going to put it in. And that is something I would have to go check on. That was over a month and a half ago. So if I tell them that I want to move in there and I go down there to meet with them, and I'm going to notice if anything was done to the place since the last time I looked at it. And that's going to give me an impression. But it had a big open space. Right when you walk in, bigger than this tiny house, and that's just the first space. Then there's a wall with a doorway off to the side, I guess you could say, and you walk in and there's another room, and it's a fairly big room. I would say the second room is as big as this tiny house. I don't know, it's big enough. Ceilings are higher. And it's well constructed. It's not dumpy at all inside. It's actually pretty nice. The floors are nice. It's generally, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It looks like a nice place. And then the third room of the shotgun style house is the bathroom. And the bathroom had a toilet, had a big bathtub, a deep bathtub that you could actually soak in. And that was an appealing thing. It was missing a shower head. They said they'd fix that. The only thing in the bathroom that I looked at that I didn't like was there was a hot water heater in the corner of the bathroom, and it wasn't like covered up or didn't have anything nice. It looked kind of shitty, and it didn't look big. It looked like it could be, I don't know, it looked bigger than a 10-gallon tank. But it's definitely, I don't know if it's a 20-gallon. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to know how many gallons it was because I'm trying to pull it in from memory. So that was a kind of The bathroom was kind of hit or miss, I guess. Plenty of natural light. But another thing that sucks about that shotgun house is that it's on a property. There's 2 of these shotgun houses on the property. One somebody lives in. The other one is this new one they built. There's a few campers around the property. And then I think if you go back far enough on the property, there's some sort of home back there. So the landlord and his son and I think some other people, they live on the property in different fashions. I don't really know. So I didn't really explore the property at all past the tiny house. But there's a gate. There's a driveway with a gate at the end that shuts and locks. And so that kind of bothers me in the sense that what happens when Amazon comes and wants to, what happens when I need to get an Amazon delivery and the driver can't get past the gate because it's locked or whatever? I don't know. Like, I would have to kind of look into that a little more. So, both of these places, the landlord lives right on the property. The shotgun house is cheaper in rent, but I'd have to pay the electric bill. And when you factor it all in, if the electric bill is $100 a month, let's just say, factor it, I'll call it $150 a month just because. It's like $100 less. If the electric bill is $150 a month, the total electric and rent is $100 less. And the apartment, the 2-story garage apartment for $100 more is way better than the other place. But the other place, the move-in costs are much cheaper because the guy told me, without me asking, he said he would split the security deposit across the first 2 months, which significantly reduces the amount of money that I would have to spend in order to move in, unless the electric company wants some sort of ridiculous ransom out of me before they'll turn on the electric in the form of a security deposit like they do when you have bad credit. So I don't know. Sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't. It's just, you never know what they're going to do until they do it. So I don't know. I've got those 2 places. And then the places that I looked at out in the country, the ones on the dirt road, they're still available as far as I know. And in a pinch, I could move into one of those. And the rent, it's kind of, I actually think those would be more expensive than the garage apartment. Maybe. No. Maybe. They're all pretty damn comparable. I mean, they're all within $100 to $200 of each other. But the 2 that are out on that dirt road, one of them includes electricity, the other one doesn't. And I can't remember why. He had a reason for it. But that one, I might have to buy all the appliances. And the places are smaller, much smaller than the garage apartment. But peace and quiet in terms of the neighborhood, being out in the woods, a wooded area. They definitely were nice options. But they're off my list right now because internet is not... The company that provides the internet seems to be like a fly-by-night, half-ass, 2-bit ass clown company. And I got somebody to tell me that they were bad. Somebody told me they had that internet provider and they didn't like it, and it was bad, and it was slow, and it was unreliable, and they don't, they it goes down all the time, and just, I'm like, no, I can't deal with that. And so I just don't. I don't want to do it. Other than that, if I could have got good internet, cable internet, like just cable. I don't know how, like, they don't have cable. Well, I don't even know. I don't know. I got the landlord and his property manager, neither one of them really seemed to know what was what there. And it doesn't make any sense because literally right around the corner from this place, there's all kinds of businesses, and it's actually like a busy area. There's like a McDonald's, a Sonic. There's like a whole bunch of businesses, a strip mall. It's like, it's not in the middle of nowhere. It's just tucked back in the woods in a busy area. And it's like a road that I guess the cable company forgot. Because the road the road that leads to the dirt road, I guarantee you they have good internet on that road. It's just the dirt road going back to the cabins doesn't. It's one of those kind of things. And so they really didn't give me any assurance that I could get a good internet connection there. And it just, otherwise, I probably would have made a move on it. Either one of those cabins would have been dope. One of them was a little bit better than the other in terms of coolness and a little bit better yard and whatnot, but neither one of them were bad. Neither one of them were bad. I'm just gonna let it go and see what happens. After the bakery today, so I got the check deposited. I know that I can use the ATMs at that bank, at least the ATMs at the bank, to deposit checks. So I'll never have to go in the bank anymore, which is nice. It's not like I've never used an ATM to deposit a check before. It's just, I don't know, there's like, I just don't have the capacity right now to deal with a fuck up or a problem. So I'm just like trying to play it safe. I'm like, if I take it in, give it to the teller, shit. No, I did. Okay. I'm like, I have to take photos of these checks when they come in because I have to prove to probation that I'm working. And for a second, I'm like, did I forget because of the hustle and bustle and hassle of everything? But no, I definitely did take a photo of it. I remember doing it. I had so much going on. And then after work, I had to go to Whole Foods and do an Amazon return. And that was a little bit dicey. Definitely a little more pain in the ass. I guess Amazon, because they own Whole Foods, they've decided that Whole Foods is where you're going to take your Amazon returns now. Used to be the UPS store, and there was one right where I work, and I could just walk in, hand them the item, boop, and have them scan a barcode and be done with it. And walk out and everything would be hunky-dory. But now, if you take your Amazon returns to the UPS store, they charge you a fee. And so that, I was like, well, I'm not paying $1. When Whole Foods is kind of on my way home, it was a different route. But that was fine because I got to explore things I haven't seen before. And just got to see things a little bit differently. And that is where the bicycle bell came into play, because part of the route to Whole Foods was there's this thing in the Woodlands called Lake Woodlands, and it's just a fake. Everything in the Woodlands is fake. So there's this fake lake that they made, and there's a path going around it, and it's like a bicycle/walking path, but it was crowded. And so I had to use the bicycle bell to get people to move out of the way. Because yuppies on these fucking trails and on these sidewalks, they love to just crowd the entire fucking sidewalk, and they don't have any courtesy. They don't have any manners. So, you know, it could be two people and they'll take up the whole width of the fucking path. And it's like, yeah, because you're the only two assholes on this fucking trail today. You're the only two people out there. So yeah, go right the fuck ahead and take up the whole width of the trail. And leave no room at all for someone to go by on a bicycle. You know, it is a bicycle path too. And it's like, I would have absolutely no problem with people if they would leave room, you know, like, stick to your lane. But and I'm not being obnoxious like the obnoxious drivers that honk at me all day, which I only had one of those today, and he got a middle finger back, and then we went on our merry way. It was pretty quick, and the hostility's gone down a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and I'm cool with that. Maybe it's because the weather's nice. Maybe the nice weather. It was like 85 and sunny on the way home today. Um, maybe closing up to close. Maybe it was close to 90. I don't know. It was 85. 85 is great. Um, but the bell. The nice thing about the bell is it's a polite way to say, "Hey, get the fuck out of the way." Ding 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 ding. But I was like, I was literally going down this fucking trail. Ding 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 ding, because it's like, but they hear it, and people move out of the way, and I didn't have anybody that I had to like get mad at. There was one family with a couple of kids, and of course, as I'm coming up to them, the two kids jump out right in front of me, and I had to slam on my brakes. But, kids. I'm not going to get mad at some kids doing kid shit. But I'm like, I do kind of get irritated at parents like that when it's like, you know, teach your kids not to be fucking retarded. I would tell them, I would get mad at my kids if they did that, or I would be like, get the hell out of the way. Stay over to the side, or just don't get in front of people when they're coming over on a bicycle. And, just common sense. But a lot of parents these days just don't give a fuck about what their kids do. So that irritated me, but it was just here and gone. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't really slow down it didn't ruin my day. So, just an observation. It's just an observation. People are a lot more polite on things like this when you're not in the suburbs. Like a bicycle / walking trail like this that's not in the suburbs, that's in the city, people have etiquette. Like they have actual etiquette where they stay to one side or the other depending on the flow of traffic. And they, if there's a group of people, they won't just crowd up the whole thing. But in the suburbs, they don't give a fuck. People just don't give a fuck. They think they're the only ones there. And so I'm just like, da-ding, 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 ding, da-ding, ding, 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 da-ding, da-ding, for like, I don't know, 10 minutes. And then I get to Whole Foods. Right, that tells you everything. Whole Foods is there. I had to go, it's the path I had to take to get to Whole Foods. So imagine the people that are on it. It's the people that go to Whole Foods to shop. So it's just a whole bunch of bullshit. I locked up my bike, but I didn't want to pluck all the speakers and gadgets off, so I took my phone with me. So I was like, I'm at Whole Foods. Is there something worth buying here? I thought about maybe going to the nuts section, maybe see what the prices were on macadamia. But I'm like, you know what? Everything's expensive here. Just drop off the shit and get the fuck out. So I dropped off the Amazon returns. I got credited I don't know if the money showed up on the Amazon account, but I got the emails for it when I was unlocking my bike in the parking lot to get back on and ride. The ride home was actually pretty pleasant today because of the variety, because it was a different way, it was just seeing different things and different than what I normally see every single day. I always see the same thing day after day after day, so you got to throw in some variety here and there just to keep the boredom. It makes the time pass faster when you mix up your routes. And the problem with Houston is, the only problem with the route today is I had to take the Route 45 access road. And if you know anything about Route 45 in Houston and the access roads that are on the side of it, it's an absolute nightmare. So the last 5 miles, 6 miles of the bike ride was like a death wish, like death. Like you just feel like at any second someone's going to kill you for 6 miles. But I was flying. I was going like 25 the whole way through. That's where I got into the altercation with the horn honker. Which, I mean, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen there. There's no other way to go. It's just this city sucks for bike. It sucks. Houston's a fucking dump. I really don't like it. I like the weather. And so far, the weather is the only positive thing I can say about Houston. The roads are not in bad condition. Like, compared to the roads in Pennsylvania, compared to the roads in other places I've been. New York has pretty decent roads overall. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation is an absolute scam. They're the worst. They say Pennsylvania has the worst roads in the country. It's rated number 1 year after year for having the worst roads in the country. And there's absolutely no contest there. I absolutely agree with that. Worst condition roads, the potholes and just bad maintenance, like everything's falling apart. And the stories I could tell about the roads falling apart in Pittsburgh are out of this world. Like the bridge that was collapsing slowly and big chunks of the bridge were falling off. So they put nets under the bridge to catch the chunks of concrete that were breaking off the bridge. And then the chunks of concrete were getting so big that they would go through the net and still land on top of cars that were driving underneath this bridge. So the next thing they did to fix it was built a bridge under the bridge. And they built a bridge under the bridge to catch the pieces of the bridge that were falling off. It's like, just fix the fucking bridge, for fuck's sake. You built a fucking bridge to catch the bridge that's falling apart. Build the fucking bridge. Like, at this point, they finally did. They finally had to, because it just became such an embarrassment that they had to close it. They had to close that. It connected 2 hilltop neighborhoods together, and if you didn't need to get from one of those neighborhoods to the other, it had no effect on you when that road was closed and that bridge was being built. But it is a convenience. If you know the back roads and how to drive around Pittsburgh and how to beat traffic jams and all of that, when they opened up that bridge, it was a good thing they did, because it definitely connects some things together that make it easier to get around that area of town. And that's a notorious area for traffic jams. And if you know what you're doing, you can take back roads and you can take a scenic drive in Pittsburgh without sitting in traffic jams, and just kind of take the leisurely drive through some parks and stuff like that and get to where you're going without having to sit on the highway in a nasty traffic jam at rush hour every day. If you know what you're doing and you know how to get around, you'll never sit in traffic. You can avoid traffic jams in Pittsburgh if you know what you're doing. I'm really good at navigating that city. I never I never get stuck in traffic jams there. That's for sure. I know all the patterns. I know what lane to be in. I know that when you go through Crosstown Boulevard and you got to get on the Liberty Bridge, you never ever 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 get in the left lane. You go to stay in the right lane until you're about 20 feet from the left lane that you have to exit on, and you just scan the row of cars. You look for someone who's about to leave a gap, and you just bounce and you drop into the gap. That's why the left lane's backed up all the way to North Hills. Because that's what everybody who knows what they're doing does, and it's bad highway design. But I used to have to go that way on a daily basis, and I never get stuck in traffic on that stretch because I know that all I do is slow down a little bit as I'm coming up to where I have to get off and get over to that line of cars on the left. Some idiot's not going to be paying attention. A gap opens up, boom, you take that gap and you're good to go. And if for some reason you don't get the gap, there'll be a line of 2 or 3 cars right where you have to cut somebody off waiting for a gap to open up, and at that point they're just waiting for someone to cut off. And so you can get in the line of 2 or 3 cars, and then you've got the people in the left lane who don't want to let the people in the right lane over because they're like, you get that attitude like, well, I did the right thing and waited in line like everybody else, so I'm not going to let this person in front of me. But then you'll find somebody that'll let you in front of you, or somebody will let you in front of them at some point. There's just lots of tricks to the trade driving around Pittsburgh. But I lived there for 25 years or more. I don't even know. It was a long time. And you learn all these little secrets of how to drive around a place like that. And there's probably similar things in Houston that you would know if you stayed here for 25 years. Just about any city has its little secrets and its little things that, people who live there know, and if you don't, you don't. But people who live in Pittsburgh were always impressed with my ability to zip around that place, find my way around and just how to get from point A to B without ever sitting in there's a traffic jam, or zip, go up and over this hill. Just people are impressed with my knowledge of how to get around that town without getting stuck. How to take the back roads, how everything connects, and just knowledge of how to get where I want to go. And I'm too impatient to sit in a traffic jam, so I'll go on some cockamamie routes to get from point A to B. But in Pittsburgh, you can do that. Here in Houston, you really can't. You really can't. There's a lot of choke points. There's just a lot of it's literally like you can only get to a lot of places by taking one road here. And it just doesn't make sense in a city that's the 4th biggest city in America to be like that. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. But I don't live in the middle of Houston either. I don't live in the city. So that but it doesn't, this area shouldn't be like this. This area is so populated where I live. This should not be the way it is here. It's just retarded highway design. They should get an award for being the most retarded highway designers and road designers in America, because I've never seen anything this stupid. So what else? What else did I do? I had to go to Whole Foods, come home. And then one thing I found out, I have to return one more chain ring. I bought 3 chain rings that fit my crank set. I had to return 2 that don't even fit the crank set. They were the wrong size. And so those are back. Those went to Whole Foods today with the chain that I bought where I could only get. I'm really glad that chain was too short, because the chain that I got instead way nicer chain. So that worked out good, and I got the money back from the chain I just returned. The only difference, the only thing I kind of regret is I bought these 3 chain rings that are the right size, but one of them is right in the middle. I bought a 39, a 53, and a 46. I didn't know I could get a 39. It wasn't showing up in any searches. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll get the 46. That was the smallest they had. And I had a 53 and a 46, and I ordered them together. And they came, and then I'm like, and then I saw that there was a 39 available from the same brand, and I'm like, I'm getting it. And I thought I could just add the 46 tooth chain ring, take it back to Whole Foods today. Oh, no, that's an Amazon seller or something. Like, that's a separate thing. I have to take it to the post office. I have to put it in my own envelope, print out a mailing label that they gave me. Then I got to tape it up, take it to the post office, and then I've got to pay for the shipping to send it back. And they'll just credit they'll credit my refund to my debit card, and they'll deduct the cost of shipping. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking pay to return this. I thought the whole point of Amazon was that you don't have to pay to send shit back. It's like if you buy clothes that don't fit, you're supposed to be able to just return it. And they don't make that clear. Like, Amazon didn't make that clear when I bought the thing, that if I need to return it, I'll have to pay to send it back. And go through this hassle of going to the post office and all that shit. Like, Whole Foods, it was easy. Blip, 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 done. Scan 3 barcodes and walk away. But the post office, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But it kind of pissed me off. And then I'm like, okay, do I want to keep this chain ring? Just in case. Would it ever come in handy? To have this extra size that I could swap out with the ones that are on the bike right now. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, no, it really doesn't make any sense to keep it. Because all I would do, I could put it as the big chain ring or the small chain ring. I could replace either chain ring on the bike with that chain ring. But all it would do is take gear ratios away that I currently have, and it wouldn't add anything. It would just create smaller steps between the gears if I swapped. It wouldn't do anything useful. It wouldn't be useful at all. And so I am going to send it back, but I'm going to do it later this week. I got to figure out where the post office is closest to me and print out them. And then I don't even really have like Scotch tape to put over the label. I don't even have a proper envelope. I might have to just buy that crap at the post office. It's going to cost me like $10 to $15 probably to send back a $50 chain ring. So I'll end up getting like $40 back. I don't know. It kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because Amazon's usually good about that kind of stuff. And this turned into like, huh? I just returned 2 chain rings and a chain with no problem at all. And now all of a sudden I can't return this one thing that I need to send back. And Amazon's the kind of company that if you bitch and complain about it, they might just blip you a refund of, and make it free. You're paying for Amazon Prime. This should not be something I have to do. But I just can't justify keeping the thing either. Because it really, I was thinking about it. I'm like, does it serve any purpose to keep it? The only thing that I could think of, I'm going to have to check the Specialized bike that I'm riding. Because it does match color and style-wise. The Specialized has a triple crank set instead of a double. And so I'm going to take a quick look and see, A, does it fit the Specialized? And would it provide me something unique or better? Would it be something cool to do to the Silver Bullet? Would there be a use in swapping out a chainring on that bike for this one that I have? Just so that I don't have to eat the shipping. I'm like, it's kind of a ridiculous thing. Like at the end of the day, $10, whatever, dude. $5-10, it is what it is. I don't really care that much about it. It's just the principle of it all and the pain in the ass factor. And I'm like, if I could find a reason to keep it that actually like I'm gonna when I get off this video, I'm gonna go take a peek and see if it even fits the bolt pattern on that bike. And then if there's a reason why it might be a cool addition to that bike, like an upgrade of some kind, like if it could provide something, if it could make that bike better somehow, I don't know. I don't feel like it will, but if it did, it would be worth keeping, and I would just be like, all right, I'll just cancel the return and keep it. But I'm 95%, probably 99% sure that I'm sending it back. I just have to do it. And it's like, I gotta send it back on the slowest, it's like the slowest shipping option that the post office offers. So I'm gonna go to the post office, I'm gonna send this thing back. It's gonna take like a week to get back. And then however many, it's gonna be sometime next month when I get my refund. And it's like, whatever at this point. It's just, they made it a pain in the ass. And it's a big enough pain in the ass to make me not want to do it. But it's too much money to just, that money could go to something else that's useful to me. So I'm not just going to keep the thing for no reason. But if I have a reason, if I can find a reason, cool. If not, it's out. I'm done with it. But they're nice. When I got the chain rings, I was like, I don't know about these. They're light. They were very lightweight. They're lighter than the ones I replaced with. But when I rode today, I'm like, these are really nice. They shift well. They shift very responsively. They have special pins and ramps on them to help the chain, especially go from the small ring to the big ring. Pops right on. No problems at all. It's very smooth and fast. Good. It was a good, overall, everything's good with the bikes. And I'm only going to keep making them better. I'm just going to keep improving both bicycles until they're both badass bikes. I mean, they're already badass bikes, but they're just going to keep getting better and better over time. But I also have to balance it out with, finding a place to live, finding a car. If I move into this place, that the shotgun house with the stuff that I have, there's not as much room for things like furniture and whatnot in there. So it's a little bit more, I could buy a few pieces of furniture strategically, and then all of a sudden it's just going to be, that's it. It's full. But that 2-story garage apartment, there's a lot of room in there. I could really, if I had a vehicle, I could get furniture all day long for nothing. Literally nothing. I could get it other than the cost of gas, because Craigslist on the free section of, this is a handy tip, the free section of Craigslist, you will find the most amazing shit on there if you live in any big city. I'm not kidding when I tell you, so many crazy things I have found on the free section of Craigslist. I told you, I shared a story. I had a Lovesac, a beanbag chair, one of the 8-foot wide beanbag chairs, brand spanking new, 8-foot wide Lovesac beanbag chair that would cost $2,500 at the Lovesac store. I got it for free on Craigslist. It was a nightmare to get it into the back of the Jeep Liberty. I'm telling you, I could barely get the back door shut, and I had to put the front seat all the way up to the steering wheel and drive like this all the way home with like my chest on the steering wheel, and just, I'm like, I don't care. I didn't have to go that far to get home. And then we could barely get it in the door of the house. And we could barely get it out of the house when I moved. And then we could barely get it into the house that I moved. I mean, it was hard. That thing was hard to move. 8-foot wide beanbag chair. It came with a special cover that you'd wrap around it that had these cinch straps to cinch it down. And that's what you would have to do to get it to go through a doorway. And then you could unbuckle the cinch straps and let it fill up the space that you're trying, 8 feet wide. So you have to have a room you have to have a place to set that thing. It takes up a huge, it's 8 feet wide. You could have 3 people sitting on that thing. 2 people, side by side, comfortable. And I restuffed it at one point because it was starting to get a little floppy. I bought a package of foam on it a couple of times on Amazon because you could get it a hell of a lot cheaper. Lovesac will give you foam for free for those things as long as you own it if you buy it from them. But the foam that they sell, if you have to buy it, it's expensive, but Amazon has it. And I was able to get enough of it that I couldn't even stuff the bag any fuller. And I had to actually store the rest of the foam in a big garbage bags somewhere. And hope that, and tie it off and seal it so that, you don't want animals or mice or rodents getting into something like that. That would be a fucking nightmare. But I had a problem with a stove once, and I've shared this story a few times lately, but I had a gas stove. I don't remember what the part was, but the oven wouldn't turn on. And I found out that it was this part, and the part was going to be $50-$60. And I went on the free section of Craigslist just to see if someone was getting rid of a gas oven. It's like, fuck it. I kid you not, I found the exact same oven. Identical oven. Down to everything on the oven was exactly the same, except the color was beige instead of white. And the funny thing is that the fridge that I had was also free, and the fridge was beige. And so in the kitchen of this house I lived in, I had a beige refrigerator and a white oven, and I replaced. So basically, I went and got the free oven and brought it home, and it worked perfectly, and it was in a little bit better condition than the one I was getting rid of. And all I did was pluck off. I didn't want to have I didn't want to just have a freaking bastardized oven sitting in the yard like a junk car in a trailer park yard. But I pulled parts off of the oven that might come in handy just because it was the exact same oven. So I pulled the knobs off, I pulled the burners, the burner grates off, and I pulled the burner assemblies off, because if gas didn't come out of a burner assembly, I could just swap them out. They just pop on and pop off. And I grabbed a few other parts that, the oven racks. So I had, instead of the 2 oven racks that the oven would have came with, I had 4 oven racks. So I could put an oven rack on each slot inside the oven, and bake on 4 racks at a time if I wanted to. And I just did a bunch of other things. I grabbed everything off of the old oven that might be useful for the new oven that was something that I could store in a box, basically. I wasn't going to just grab every single thing off of it. And then my friend and I, we were like, fuck it. There were 30 stairs going up to the front door of the house. And we just took the oven to the edge of the staircase and shoved it and let it roll down the fucking stairs just to watch for fun. Just boom, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom down the stairs, down to the street. And then we left it then we just left it there. And I'm not even kidding. I don't even think it was garbage night that night. I kid you not. Somebody came by in a pickup truck an hour after we did that, scooped it up, threw it in the back of the truck, and drove off. And we're like, all right. My friend didn't even leave yet, who helped me carry it up to the house. Um, so it all worked out. Free. The free section on Craigslist. I'm telling you. So many things I've picked up on that. Like useful things, like things that you would blow your mind that I got for free. You could almost make a business off of scooping up everything you can find on the free section of Craigslist and selling it somewhere. Selling it on Facebook Marketplace for crying out loud. But, that's a lot of driving and a lot of... for me at the time, it was a lot of that stuff, unless it was something like the beanbag chair and the stove and whatnot. A lot of times I would just scout the free section and I would just time it. If I was going to go pick something up from somebody, I would just time it to where I could just swing by on my way to and from work, or, it wouldn't be like having to go out of my way too much. So I wasn't like wasting gas and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's a handy tip. I'm telling you, man. I'll check it out. I even check it out here from time to time, even though I don't have a car. But if I had a car, or even better, if I end up buying my own... So, another fountain of wisdom from the comments section. Somebody... Every time I say just about anything, somebody's got to argue with me about it. So, I said something about... possibly... So, my two options are going to a shitty car dealer to get a loan, probably at a high interest rate, but if I get an economy car that's newer, the interest won't be that bad, and if I can afford to pay more than the car payment. I did that with my Mini Cooper. Because of the age of the car, I couldn't get a good interest rate loan, but I paid more than the loan payment every month, and I ended up paying the car off in 2 years instead of 3, because I didn't finance that much. But I couldn't just afford to buy it outright. And I paid it off a year before it was supposed to be paid off. And the amount of interest, even though the interest was high, the total amount of interest I paid wasn't that bad. Would have been comparable to having a good interest rate. I just paid it off quicker. And somebody was telling me you can't get a good deal at a... Somebody left me a comment today saying you can't get a good deal at a dealership. That's total bullshit. That's total bullshit. I've gotten good deals at car dealerships on more than one occasion. You're definitely in a better position to get a good deal if you can pay for it right on the spot. If you have the ability... And you have to have the ability to just get up and walk away. Like, if you don't like the deal that you're getting, and don't get attached to a vehicle. That's the secret to getting a good deal at a car dealer. They don't haggle as much as they used to. I'm not, especially on newer vehicles. But, I mean, I got an XJ, both of my two favorite vehicles I ever owned. My XJ Cherokee, I traded in a Pontiac Grand Am GT with a busted transmission that I didn't even know I was going to get home in. I just happened to drive by this dealership, and I saw this bright blue, beautiful Jeep Cherokee out front. I got it for I wrote a check for $4,000 and gave him the Grand Am in trade, but he wanted $6,000. He wanted $6,000 for it. It was over $6,000 on the sticker price on the, on the window, on the windshield when I was looking at it. And I was like, I'll give you $4,000 plus this Pontiac out there. And we kind of went back and forth, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go home. And then he was like, all right, I'll do it. and then it was done. And I wasn't even planning, like, I did not go out there to buy that vehicle. I was looking at another Jeep from a private seller, and the private seller Jeep was a piece of shit, and I thought I just wasted an hour's drive to go out and look at this, and I was really disappointed. But on my way out there, I saw this bright blue Cherokee out in front of this dealership lot, and I was like, ooh, it just looked way too nice for the age. And it was a freaking awesome Jeep. It was awesome. It was one of the best vehicles I ever owned. And like I said, I paid $4,000 and traded in a fucking Grand Am, piece of dog shit Grand Am, worst car I ever owned in my life. And I literally didn't even know if the car was going to get me home that night. The transmission was so bad. I was having so many problems just driving out there. Cars like jerking around and slipping and sliding. That fucking transmission. I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to get home tonight. I'm out in Greensburg, and if you know the area of Pittsburgh, that's a far drive to have your car break down and not be able to get back to Pittsburgh. And halfway back to Pittsburgh, I'm like, I'm stopping to look at this Cherokee, and an hour later, I'm driving it home. And so, yes, you can get a good deal at a car dealer. People just, the fountain of wisdom always spews forth in the comments section. You can't do this, you can do that. That's not possible. It is possible. I got a 2008 Jeep Wrangler soft top, had 20,000 miles on it. I bought it in 2016. So it was 8 years old, but it had 20,000 miles on it. It was literally kept in a guy's garage and driven a few times every summer. 20,000 miles over a span of 8 years. It still had mold marks on the tires. It was so new. Brand spanking new. In fact, everybody who saw it after I bought it thought that it was brand new. Because there was literally not a single mark on this thing. Not a single mark. I had a Jeep Liberty that had all kinds of problems. I still owed $3,000 on the auto loan for it. I still owed $3,000 on the loan. The dealership wanted $24,000. I think they wanted like 20. Is it 22? I got to think about this. They wanted $22,000 for the Jeep. I came at them. I said, I've got a whatever, it was a 2006 Liberty. It's got this many miles on it. And I said, give me $5,000 in trade for the Liberty and drop the price of the Wrangler to $17,000 and I'll do it today. And I did this through email, okay? And they kind of laughed at me. And they gave me a counter offer. And so I sent a fucking email back. This is exactly how I did it. I sent the email back and I said, okay, that's great, but how about you give me $5,000 in trade for my Liberty and you drop the price of the Wrangler to $17,000 and I'll come in and I'll write you a $15,000 check and we'll call it a day. How's that sound? And so they sent another email back. And this went on for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. It's because the dealership was in Cleveland. And I was in Pittsburgh. Well, I was in Mercer, which is an hour north of Pittsburgh. But it was going to be like a 2-hour drive to go to Cleveland for this. So I wasn't going to fuck around and I wasn't going to go up. I basically said, I'm like, I can tell from the pictures, I can see, I know what I want. I'm like, I'm going to have to take it on a test drive and look under the hood and just, inspect this thing. But So they gave me another offer, another counter offer. They came down on their price. And now the Blue Book value for my Liberty was about $5,000. So it wasn't like I was out of league there. And I knew that I had wiggle room on the Wrangler, because they were asking too much for it. And so I knew I had room to negotiate. I didn't expect it was going to go as well as it did, but I didn't have anything to lose. That's the key. Like, I didn't give a fuck. That's the whole secret of the whole thing, is to not give a fuck. Because once they know you don't give a fuck, it's either they're going to make a sale or they're not. And so the second time, I responded with the exact same offer. I didn't change it. And the guy was like, a couple days later, I get an email back. And so, like, he sent me the first counter offer. I countered with the same offer. Then he counter offered again with a slightly better price, slightly more in trade, and I'll take a little bit off. And I go, it's not worth my time unless you give me $5,000 in trade for the Liberty and give me $17,000 for the Jeep, and I'll come in and I'll write you a check and I'll go home. And we went back and forth a couple more times, and he's like, come on, man, we're giving you a good deal. And I'm like, not good enough. We just kept doing this. So like a couple of weeks went by. And I just thought I was fucking with the guy at this point. So the dealer finally sends me an email, and he goes, look, he's like, we'll give you the price that you want, but on two conditions. We have to look at the Liberty, we have to inspect it and make sure that it, but we'll give you $5,000 for it. He's like, but we have to inspect it and make sure we could turn on that, the deal could turn on that. And then he goes, and we'll give you the Jeep for $17,000, but you have to sign a thing saying that you're buying it as is, no warranty. And I thought about it for a minute, and I'm like, no warranty sounds a little scary, but this thing had 20,000 miles on it. And there was a factory warranty still available on certain things, because the way the Jeep warranty works, I don't know all the detail, but there was still the possibility if something was really wrong with it to be able to get a factory, I could still possibly I don't know. It may have been a 5-year warranty, to be honest. No, there may have. I was buying it as is, to be honest. And so I had to think about that for a minute. But I'm like, am I really taking that bad of a chance on a Jeep that has 20,000 miles on it and was in somebody's garage, and I could just tell by the pictures that it was well taken care of. And I said, look, I'm going to have to look under the hood. I'm going to have to, inspect myself, etc. So I go up there. I take it for a test drive. The dealer doesn't come with me, so I pull into a parking lot. I get under the hood. I get under the vehicle. I mean, it's brand spanking new. I mean, it's new. It's complete. I mean, it looks like it just came off the damn showroom floor. Everything drove fine. No leaks. No fucking drips. Nothing. It's hard to tell because if they detail a vehicle before you come and look at it, you want to look at a vehicle that has been driven and hasn't been fucked with. And you want to make sure the engine's cold when you start it, because you don't want to have a vehicle. You don't want to go and test drive a vehicle that they had warming up in the driveway for half an hour before you got there and turned it off just before you got there. Because if there's a problem, you can hide problems in certain ways from someone who's coming to buy a vehicle, and then it becomes your problem when you drive away with it and find out it doesn't start the next time you try and start it. So, but I mean, this thing, it was a no-brainer. I looked at it. I'm like, this fucking thing, in spite of the fact that they detailed it, it was brand fucking new. I mean, just everything. All the evidence was there that this thing had been babied the whole time it was owned. There were a few little things here and there. Cosmetic things. So I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. I had to get rid of that Liberty. That Liberty was all kinds of fucking problems. They were buying, it wasn't a lemon, but I hated that Liberty so much, and I wanted to get a Wrangler to replace it with, and I'm like, it's perfect. So I went back into the dealership. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And so they went and inspected the Liberty, and he came back and said, okay, it checks out. Everything's fine. And we did the deal. I wrote a check. I happened to have an influx of money come my way. And so and when the money came, literally the day the money came in the mailbox, I'm holding the check in my hand and I look up and I see drip, 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 drip coming underneath the Liberty. And I'm like, fuck! Like, just another thing that thing was doing that was pissing me off, and I still hadn't even paid it off. But I was thinking about just buying another vehicle and keeping the Liberty. And the Liberty didn't cost that much to fix. It was the seal, the transmission pan seal was bad. And so it was dripping transmission fluid. I took it to the shop. It cost $150 to fix. So it wasn't like a big deal, but it was just that vehicle was always doing something, and it was always pissing me off, and I never liked it. I didn't like the way it drove. I really didn't like it. I didn't like it within a month after buying it. I just was like, man, I wish I had not bought this. It was nice when I bought it. It was actually a good deal when I bought it. It wasn't a great deal, but it wasn't a bad deal. It only had 30,000 miles on it when I bought it. And it was the rugged version of the Liberty. It was the trail rated. It had the trail rated badge on the side, and it had the upgrades and stuff. So it was pretty badass. I took it off road. It could do some shit, but it just wasn't my old Cherokee. And I'm like, man, it just sucks. I never liked it. But, I mean, I could take it off I took it. I could take that anywhere I took the Wrangler. But the Wrangler was just a beast. That fucking thing was awesome. And I bought it. Yeah, so I bought a brand new Wrangler for $17,000. And I traded in a beat up, shitty ass, falling apart Liberty and had a profit of $2,000 on the trade. So they paid off the loan, and I had $2,000 above water that I put into the Wrangler. Basically, I said to the guy, and when we were going back and forth in the email, I said, I will write you a check for $15,000.00. However you want to put it on the books, I don't give a shit. You can give me the Jeep for $17,000, give me $5,000 in trade. You can give me $3,000 in trade and come down to $15,000 on the Jeep. Whatever you do, I don't care how you got to put it on your books. But this is what I'm going to pay. And that's exactly what I did. I went in there, I paid not one penny more. Not one penny more. That included all the extra fees and bullshit and everything. Not one penny above. I wrote that check. I was firm on that before I even went up there. And they honored it. They were cool about it. They were like, yeah, and it all worked out. I drove home. I was kind of like nervous because I just bought this thing as is, which that was a little bit, because to get the deal, to get the price I wanted as is, like not even a 3-month warranty, but like I had to sign all this shit that says if anything's wrong with it, it's on me. Ended up being the most between the Wrangler and the XJ Cherokee. Those are the two most reliable vehicles I've ever owned in my life. So yeah, it was a great deal. So yeah, the fountain of wisdom in the comment sections that say you can't get a good deal from a dealership is bullshit. And you can still get a decent deal if you're financing. But when you haggle on financing, you're haggling your monthly rate. You're haggling your monthly payment. You're not haggling the purchase price of a car. I went to another dealership a few months before I was arrested. I loved my Wrangler, but it's starting to get some miles on it, and the one thing I regret is that I didn't undercoat and rust proof the bottom of my Wrangler when I bought it. I could have, and my mechanic was even like, "You got to do it, man. You can't let that thing." He's like, "That's way too nice of a Wrangler. You got to take it to my guy, get the rust proofing done." He's like, "That thing will last forever." He's like, "But if you don't, you're going to be sorry." And I didn't, and I was sorry. And it wasn't like bad. It wasn't in bad shape when I got arrested at all. But it was like, I wish I would have got it done when I bought it, because it would have made a difference. But it wasn't in bad shape at all. Even the mechanic was like, "This thing's in really good shape." He always thought it was a nice Jeep. But this Jeep showed up at this dealership, this totally decked out JK Wrangler. I think it was 2016. It was a later model year than the one I had. Mine was 2008. This one was maybe, I don't know, 2012. It was newer, but it wasn't a JL. It was still a JK. But this thing was decked out. This thing had at least $15,000 worth of customizations and add-ons and bigger wheels and a lift kit and programmable, just like engine tuning system. It had hood locks. It had these, it had CO2 cartridges mounted on the roof. It had a roof rack, had these big CO2 tanks mounted on the roof rack that you can use. Like if you get a flat tire, you can pop these CO2 tanks off the side of the Jeep and just psst, psst, instead of having an air compressor that you carry around with you like I had. So many things. Custom bumpers, custom wheels, everything on this Jeep. Big knobby tires. Like, the thing was a beast. It was an awesome looking Jeep. Awesome looking Jeep. And, like, I don't know what the prices were. I don't remember. But, like, my Jeep had a certain value, and they had an asking price on that. And we got down, so I went and looked at it towards the end of a day. I did that on purpose. Took it for a test drive, and I wanted it. But when I took it for a test drive, I didn't have the dealer come with me. I went by myself and my son, and I went out on the open road, and because of the lift kit and the size of the wheels, I could not get that thing to go faster than 65 miles an hour, no matter what I did, on a flat road. Now, if I had swapped the soft top for a hard top, I could probably get it up to 70 to 75, because it makes the Jeep more aerodynamic. I got a big speed boost on my Jeep when I switched from a soft top to a hard top. The top speed went up by 10, 15 miles an hour. But I could go highway speeds on mine. Just not super fast. Like 85 was about the top end. But this thing, top end on this was like 65 miles an hour. I'm like, you can't take it on a lot of highways going that slow. And that's top speed. That's going to be a nightmare if there's any kind of incline, and Pennsylvania's highways are full of hills. As soon as you start going uphill, I'm not going to be able to go the speed limit at some point. And I'm like, I need to be able to drive on the highway with this vehicle, even though I had a Mini Cooper and I had a pickup truck at the time. But I drove the Jeep a lot. And I was like, I really need to be able to drive this on the highway. And I'm like, it's still badass. I still want it. So I was still going to do it because it was in much better condition, had very low mileage. It was another one of these unicorns. It was like, I think the mileage was around 20,000 miles. And it was like almost brand new still. It was almost like somebody bought it. It almost was like a demo Jeep for like a company that does add-ons and stuff, because this thing was so decked out with so much shit. It was unbelievable. And I could have turned it into a rugged outdoor. So my goal, what I was thinking of doing, it had a really solid roof rack, and it had a ladder built in to climb up to the top. And so it already had the ladder and the roof rack. And so I was going to put a rooftop tent on it and turn it into like a camper Jeep. And the rooftop tent is about $2,000, but I would already have a ladder built into the roof rack to climb up into the tent. So I wouldn't have to do any of that goofy ladder, any goofy stuff like that. There was already a ladder on the back of the Jeep. And so I was going to turn it into a camper Jeep and turn it into like an off-road camper. And it was a 2-door, but it had a soft top. And so I had two options. I had two ideas. But we started negotiating on the trade-in value of my Wrangler, and I emptied out the Wrangler before I went up there just to make sure, that I cleaned it out and emptied out it, pulled everything out except for things in the glove box and whatnot, but I didn't have anything in there. So if I did a trade, boom, boom, it's done. But the trade-in, so between the price of the vehicle, the new Jeep, and the trade-in price of my Jeep, we were $1,000 apart. I'm like, I want this price. And I did the same thing. I'm like, I don't care how you do the math. You give me this much in trade, you bring the price down this much, whatever you want to do, this is what I want to pay. This is what I want to pay. Not anymore. No more than that. Whatever it was. And the price difference between the trade-in on my Jeep and the price of this Jeep it wasn't a ridiculous spread. It was something like $5,000-$6,000 in that. Well, I was trying to get it. I'm like, I'll write you a check for $5,000 is what I was doing. Because there was a difference in the trade, and the price of their vehicle was already pretty good. And so I was trying to get them to bump up my trade-in value to where I could write a check for $5,000 and drive away. I think that's what it was. Something like that. But it was going to be like a sign and drive away kind of deal. And we just kept going back and forth and back and forth. And I was like, nope, this is what I want. And so we were $1,000 apart. And neither one of us would budge. And I found out why the next day, but we got to within $1,000 of doing the deal. And I was like, I'm like, this is what I want. And I got up and I left. And my son came with me. He was like, I was just teaching him. I'm like, so we get, I'm like, this is what you have to do. He was like, I don't know, 12 years old. But he's a smart kid. And I'm like teaching him. I'm like, when you go, like, this is how you have to play the game. You don't just take what they give you, or you don't just ask them what it costs and then say, okay, and pay. No, you fight, you haggle back and forth with them. But this one wouldn't budge. They did budge. We got to within $1,000 of where I wanted to be. They wanted me to give them $6,000 and I could drive the new one away tonight. And they already closed. They were already closed. And so they all wanted to go home and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we can do this. I'm like, you can get your sale, $5,000, and I'll take it. I got the keys right here. Got the title I got the title in hand. Boom, let's roll. And they're like, sorry. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I got up and I got in my Jeep and I'm like half expecting them to chase me out and say, wait. They didn't. They let me go home, and I was fine with it. because I had good enough reason not to keep the Wrangler that I wanted it. I wanted it for different reasons, but I liked my Wrangler that I already owned, and it had a hard top, and I went through hell to get that hard top. They're not easy to find. It's very, very difficult to get a 2-door Jeep hardtop that's in good shape. 4 doors you can find all day long, but for a 2-door, it's a pain in the ass. I had to drive all the way to Atlanta to get it from Pittsburgh. And so, it was worth the hassle. And the price was really good, and it was a professional guy who sells these things for a living. So it wasn't like it was in good shape. It was brand new. It was actually a factory. It came from the Chrysler factory. This guy sells, I don't know how he gets them, but he would get them from the Chrysler factory and sell them to people, resell them basically. And so it was like, I got it for dirt cheap, but I had to drive to Atlanta, and then I had to pay him a little fee to install it. But we were in and out of there in about 15-20 minutes. And because they're not hard to install. It was harder to take the soft top off than it was to install the hard top. And I loved that thing. I loved it. Way better with the hard top. I'll never own another soft top Wrangler, ever. So I did not, that was a big deal to me. And so the other thing I was thinking, if they don't want to budge, if they're going to be stuck on this $6,000, I was going to ask them, well, fine, I'll do the $6,000, but I want to put my hard top on this Jeep I'm buying, and you can put the soft top on mine. Because they're swappable. They're the same. JK is a JK. It don't matter. They were swappable. I knew that. I knew that before I went to the dealership. In fact, I made sure that the soft top and the hard top could be swapped on site. Now, there's a roof rack that was going to get in the way, and that was going to make it more difficult to do. And I didn't think they would do it that night. It would be something I'd have to come back, probably, and have theirs, and maybe pay a fee. I would have been willing to do it. I would have been willing to do the $6,000 if they would swap the hard top with the soft top. But the problem is, hard top changes the trade-in value of a Wrangler by about $2,000. So I paid $1,200 for the hard top. Like I said, I got a really good deal on it, but I had to go to Atlanta to get it, and it was brand spanking new hard top. But it raised the trade-in value of my Jeep by over $2,000. The Blue Book value went up over $2,000 when I got home from what it was when I left. And so that would have ruined the negotiation if I said, well, I want to keep I'll do the $6,000. If I had said that, then they're going to recalculate the trade-in value based on it having a soft top instead of a hard top, and they're going to drop the trade-in value by $2,000, and I wasn't going to win. So I kept that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to bring out I'll trade tops. But that Jeep, that one with the soft top would have been 1,000 times better with a hard top. Especially the JKs. The JLs have a better, when they switched to all Velcro for the soft tops with no zippers, it's all Velcro now. There's no zippers anywhere in the soft top. Because what happens is the zippers get all fucked up, and then you can't open them. You can't move. The zippers ruin it. Once the zippers go bad, the whole thing's shot. And so that's the killer. That's what kills the Jeep soft tops. But the JL version, the newer Wranglers with the soft tops got Velcro instead of... everything is Velcro. The windows just peel off and stick on. But when you have a soft top, that's part of the problem, too. You don't feel secure. You can't, like, with a hard top, you feel like you can, it's like a regular vehicle. You can lock your valuables in the car, and someone's going to have to break into the car. When you have a soft top, someone could just walk by, zip up, unzip the window, reach in, grab your shit. So that was something to think about. But I just couldn't do it. And so I drove home from the dealership and went about my business and just went on with life. Didn't really care. Very next morning at 9 in the morning, right when the dealership opens, they called and I saw on the caller ID, I'm like, ah, and I just start rubbing my hands together. I'm like, yes, they're coming in, they're caving in. So I answer the phone and it's the salesperson from the dealership and they're like, hey, we're just calling to let you know that Wrangler that you were interested in, we sold it today. And I'm like, what do you mean you sold it today? You opened 5 minutes ago, and when I left last night, it was an hour after you closed. I left an hour after you closed last night, and you've been open for 5 minutes today, and you're telling me you sold the Wrangler. And they were like, but we've got a bunch of other Wranglers you might be interested in if you want to come back up and take another look and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I hung up the phone. I'm like, no. So that's why they wouldn't cave in on what I was, the demands that I was making for the price I wanted, because they had a guy off to the side that they probably already told, it's going to go tonight, but if it doesn't go, you got to get here first thing in the morning because it's going to be gone. So they basically suckered a guy into paying full price for that thing. I guarantee you they did. They had some guy off to the side who was chomping at the bit to get it right now, I need it right now. But they're like, well, we've got someone coming tonight and looking at it, but if he doesn't buy it, it's going to go fast, though. We're getting lots of calls. Lots of people want to come and buy this thing. And it was I'm sure they were getting tons of calls about this Jeep. It was a unicorn. It was a straight up unicorn. And so, I didn't even want the fucking thing. I wasn't even looking to buy another vehicle, to be honest. I don't know how I saw it or found it. I saw it and I was like, holy shit, look at that thing. Hell yeah. And I just instantly called them up and I was like, I want to come and take a look at that. It was like a spur of the moment thing. But it was a straight up unicorn and the price could not be beat. But I was like, I think I can beat it. But I didn't. But they did come down. They did come down pretty good. I just didn't. I'm like, the thing that turned me off from doing it, honestly, was the fact that it had a soft top and the fact that I couldn't get it to go faster than 65 out on the open road when I gave it all it had. And I'm like, that is going to make things difficult, especially if I have to drive down to Atlanta to go get a fucking hardtop after I buy this thing. Because I don't want to own this thing. I don't want a soft top. And then I was going to have to buy it. But I probably would have kept the soft top for an amount of time because I wanted to put a rooftop tent on it. And then the soft top may or may not have had benefits because I do like driving with the top down. But the nice thing about the Jeep hardtops now is they have removable panels. And you can basically get the open air concept without taking the whole hardtop off. But they've got, there's two panels that you can remove above the driver and passenger seat up front. And so it still feels pretty wide open, but those panels pop on and off in about 10 seconds. If you've ever had a Wrangler with a soft top, they're very easy to take the soft top off. It takes about 30 seconds to a minute to take the soft top off. And if you've ever owned a Wrangler, you know that putting that fucking soft top back up, you're going to be motherfuckering and swearing and getting pissed off and hate your life. And it's next to impossible to get the damn thing back on without going through a bunch of hell. It's a big pain in the ass to put those things back on after you want. So like when the rain's coming, you're like, shit, I gotta put the top up. You're like, you're struggling to get this thing back up, and you gotta fight it, and it's a big pain in the ass. And even when my soft top was brand new, it was a pain in the ass. And the more worn out they get, and you only get about 5 or 6 years out of a soft top if you drive it all the time, and then you've got to get a new one. And you can't see out the back window very easy when they just fall apart. The hardtop was the best thing I ever did in that damn Jeep. It was the best thing. I can't stress it enough. That was the best thing I ever did to that Jeep, was putting a hardtop on it. And after I did it, I'm like, if I really want to go around with the top down and the whole Jeep, like take the doors off, take the top down, and just drive around with a naked Jeep all day, it's not that hard to do it. You could do it in the driveway. But then if it rains, we're fucked. If it rains, you can get these like bikini things that you can drape over the top of the Jeep while you drive to keep, because you don't want they don't make the dashboards waterproof. If you get water all over your dashboard and into the electronics and all, you're done. So you can't just risk driving around in a Wrangler without the top, without a way to cover it up if it rains. If it rains, you're in deep shit. If you can keep the dashboard dry, if the floor gets completely soaked, that's fine. That don't matter. There's plugs in the bottom of the floor that you can pull the plugs, and the water just drains right out. If it's like the bottom, it's like pulling the drain in a bathtub. But in terms of the electronics on the dashboard, you can't get water in there. You're fucking screwed. And there was no other electronic shit on that Jeep on purpose. Everything was manual locks, manual crank windows. There was no electronic stuff to worry about getting wet. But the dashboard, you can't get wet. You can get a little bit, but you can't get it soaked. You can't be out in a torrential downpour with a Jeep like that and not expect to have a shitload of problems when you get home. So that was always like, that's the catch-22 of owning one of those. But they do make things that you can stretch over the top in a pinch, where if you're just driving a naked Jeep with the doors off and the hard top off and the whole thing just wide open and it starts to downpour, you can have something in you can basically stow it back under there's a little secret Han Solo compartment in the back of the Wrangler. You can pop the thing up and you can have it stored in there, and you can stretch it over the crossbars on the top and clip it to where the wind, you can clip it in place, and it will keep the water generally from getting all over your electronics and the dash. And it'll generally keep you dry as you drive, but water's going to be coming in the sides and the back, and and you still might get a bathtub full of water for your feet to splash around in, that you might have to pull the drain plugs out and let it drain. But they're meant to be, those things are meant to be taken on some rugged shit. So I don't know, but I mean, to say you can't get a good deal at a dealership, that's bullshit. The risk that you run if you so my options are go to a dealership and get a car, an economical gas saver that has, something of a newer model year, that I won't buy it if it's not in good shape, because my car payment's going to be ridiculous and my interest rate's going to be ridiculous. So I'm going for a reliable car that I know I'm not going to have a lot of problems with. And that's going to be picking the right model, picking the right make, and picking something that's new enough with low enough miles that I shouldn't have to worry about it for a while. and then just dealing with the fact that, having a low down payment but a high interest rate and a monthly payment. Or I go to somebody who's selling a vehicle privately, but right now, you can't get anything good for under $5,000. You can't. I've been looking. Everything under $2,000 is a total fucking jalopy. Like, I wouldn't even trust it to drive it off the person's driveway, let alone rely on it to get around. I would rather ride a bicycle than drive some fucking jalopy that's about to fall apart and leave me stranded on the side of the road. Nothing under 2,000, nothing at all. I've been looking. 5,000, sure, all day long. If I'm willing to spend, but to buy a car at a dealership and take out a loan, even if it has a high interest rate, I can probably get away with paying $1,000 or less, and driving away with plates on the car and all the registration and all the work done. No trip to the fucking DMV. Just drive away and be done with it. $1,000, whatever. Get the keys. Oh, the license plate's on it. Get in the car and go home. Done. Because it's a dealership. They do all that shit. I go to a private seller. I got to cough up $5,000. But granted, I'm getting the title. But then I got to go deal with the fucking DMV and all the DMV bullshit. And all of a sudden you find out, oh, that VIN number, we can't give you a title. Or, there's all kinds of... There's always going to be some retarded ass shit that you got to deal with. And you're going to have to pay the sales tax when you go to get the license plates. And then you got to pay all the bullshit fees and all that. And then you got to get all the license plates, all the paperwork, and then go back to the person you bought it from and get the plates put on. And do all that stuff, and that whole process could take a fucking week, depending on how, that's a pain in the ass, and it's going to cost more, and there's a higher chance that if something goes wrong with the vehicle, now I'm stuck with it. If I go to a dealership, I can get a warranty. Most extended warranties that they try to shove down your throat are total trash. I can tell you for a fact, there's a company called Zurich. They're a good one. When I bought my Nissan Frontier pickup truck, the dealership, as part of the haggling process, they threw in the cost of the Zurich top of the line used car warranty. I don't remember. I mean, the haggling went back and forth with them too. I don't remember all the details, but I remember they wouldn't come down on the price anymore, but they threw in the warranty for free. For free, quote unquote. But it didn't change the price I was paying. They just sweetened the deal by giving me the full shebang, top-of-the-line warranty. And I'm telling you, I cashed in that warranty 3 times and had absolutely zero problems with that company. I could take it... Zero problems. Zero problems. In fact, even the mechanics that I took the car to get the work done, they told me that they've never dealt with a better company when it comes to the used car warranties. They said they hate dealing with those things, but they said this company was awesome and they would totally do it again because of the experience that they had dealing with that company when it came to fixing my truck. And they were small repairs. One time I got I had an ABS sensor go bad on one of the front wheels, and it was causing some issues. They replaced it. Didn't cost me a dime. It was about a $400 repair. Didn't cost me a dime. They paid the dealer. All the dealer had to do was send them an invoice, send them an estimate. They said, okay, it was approved. Turned around. As soon as the work was done, they paid it with a credit card. And they told me that I could come and pick it up. It took like 3 days. Maybe not even. But it took the same amount of time as if I was paying for it with cash. And then I took it to another mechanic my favorite mechanic, because my mechanic was booked up, so I took it to a different place, and I had to get it inspected, and it needed some axle seals, and they were going to be pricey, and but this warranty literally covered every part of the truck, and plus I traveled a lot, and if the truck broke down while I was traveling somewhere, they would pay for a hotel and a rental car and everything else to go with it while my truck was getting repaired. And after the experiences that I had already dealing with the company, I was like, holy shit, I believe them now. Because it was super easy. But like I said, I didn't pay for the warranty. If they tried to shove it on me, I would have said no. But they threw it in to sweeten the deal when we were negotiating, because the value of it, like, the dealership doesn't pay a lot to these warranty companies when they sell them to you. And so it's like straight up profit for them when you pay $3,000 extra for your vehicle to have one of these extended warranties. The dealership pays like maybe $800 or something. Like, they pay not much. And so it's straight profit for them. So for them to throw it in to sweeten the deal on my purchase of the vehicle, it was like a way for them to give me all that extra value without coming down as far as I wanted to come down. And I'm like, I don't normally like these warranties. I never do it. And I've had problems. I've had problems where a warranty company wouldn't fix my car. But the funny thing is, in that case, I owned the car less than a month, and I had 30 days to change my mind to get a refund on the warranty. So I went and got a refund on the warranty, and I had to force the dealer to give it to me. But the dealer gave me the refund on the warranty. I turned around and had my car fixed with the money from the refund on the warranty. But with this Zurich, it was amazing. Something else went bad after I was in prison. And my ex was driving the truck around while I went to jail. And she was able to take it and get it fixed for free because the warranty covered it. And then we traded in the truck to pay off the loan so that I wouldn't. That was a whole long story, but that warranty company was great to deal with. They were really awesome. And like I said, I believed every word they said after I had dealt with them 3 times, that if I was traveling, if I was down in North Carolina or something and something went wrong and it needed to go into a shop, that they would pay for the repair, they would pay for a hotel room, and they would pay for a rental car so I could get around while it was getting fixed. And like I said, every mechanic who did work on that truck said they were great to deal with. So I'm not getting a kickback. I don't have an affiliate code or anything. All I'm saying is that particular warranty company, if I were to go to a dealership down here and they were trying to force me into used car warranty, I would say no, unless it was that company. If it was that company, I'd be like, all right, throw it in. It'll make my monthly payments cost more, but I know for a fact that they'll fix my car if something goes wrong, and they won't give me any hassle about it. At least if they're the same company they were, because companies change. Companies can go from being good to shitty. So, but I'm saying I had a good experience with them. And that's the only one that's the only one I've ever dealt with that was a good experience. I've owned a bunch of cars in my life, so I've been through this most of the time. I've had 3 different used car warranties that I bought with a vehicle. Like I said, one I got, but then I got my refund before 30 days was up because I needed the money to fix the car. and it came back, and I got it fixed, and everything was good to go. And I never even really had a problem with that car after the fact. But it was a covered part. It needed an alternator. They were supposed to be able to get the alternator fixed for me. And the warranty company said, no, we're not going to replace it. And I'm like, well, the fuck you aren't. Fine, give me a warrant, give me my refund. And they made it hard to get the refund, and the dealership fought me on it, and the company fought me, and eventually I'm like, you don't want to fuck with me on this, trust me. And they finally gave it to me. And another time I was young, really like in my early 20s, and I bought a car and it had one of those warranties, and I had to cash it in to get a head gasket replaced, and they paid for it. I had to pay a little bit out of pocket, but you know, a head gasket job's not cheap. And but the warranty paid the warranty. I think I paid a couple $100. I had to pay for fluid. I had to pay for some different like fluids and things like that. I ended up paying a couple $100 for a head gasket change, and the warranty covered the rest. So, but they were kind of a pain in the ass, and the garage said they were a pain in the ass to deal with, and the garage didn't like dealing with them, etc., etc. And so I was like, yeah, I'll never get one of these again. And then I ended up getting one again, and I had to get a refund on it. But that was like, I was in my early 40s at that, so I was like 20 years later I did it again. But then when I bought my pickup truck, I was like, nope, I don't want it. I don't want it. And they kept trying to push it on me, and I was like, nope. But we were haggling about the purchase price of the vehicle. And they said, well, how about we'll do this? And I already brought financing with me because my bank was already going to finance it. So it was like I was coming cash in hand. And they're like, well, how about we sell? How about we don't budge on the price, but we throw in the warranty for free, and we'll give you the top of the line that they offer. It's the full shebang. He hands me the brochure. I'm reading through it. I'm like, well, if you're throwing this in, all right. And to be honest, I probably had $2,000 worth of work done on that fucking truck for free because of that warranty. So it worked out. It worked out good. And then after the work, and then I traded it in. And when I traded it in, I got a good trade-in price. They paid off the loan. And to say you can't get a good deal from a dealership, I mean, it's hit or miss. The trick is you got to be able to walk away from it. You can never go to a car dealership and let them know that you want the car. You kind of have to like have this attitude like you just don't care. And you're fine with getting up and going home. Like, I'll ride my bicycle to a dealership, and I'll be wearing my bicycle shoes, and I'll be, I'll be in like shorts and a t-shirt. But I'll be like, I'm going home. See you later. I don't need to, I'll make sure I do the homework before I go to the dealer. Because I'm not going to go to a dealership I shop online for cars now. I'm not fucking around with going to look at kick tires at a dealership. I'm going there. I'm going to have a specific car I'm going there to see. I'm already going to know I'm already going to have a game plan of how I'm going to, how am I going to negotiate, and what am I going to negotiate for. And it's just like this apartment that I really want. I went and felt this guy out. I'm like, and he really wasn't, I knew he wasn't going to budge on anything price-wise, because he's haggling me. He's shopping for tenants. He knows he's got a good place and it's a decent price, and he knows that he's got the pick of the litter for picking a tenant, but I can still do the walk away from this. I don't, I really want this apartment, but I can still do the walk away. I can still, if this guy jerks me around past Thursday, I'm going to walk. I'm going to be like, yeah, thanks for your time, but I'm going to have to pass on this. If he goes above and beyond what we already agreed on in terms of the hassle that would remain if he says that he'll rent it to me. If he, like, makes it any more complicated than what we've already discussed, I'll walk. And he probably won't care because he'll have 5 other people waiting to jump in and take it. And, but, well, you know, it's all about, like, don't let somebody in your comment section, whatever it is in your life, you may not be on YouTube, but you have a comment section. You have friends, you have family, you have people that you're surrounded by, co-workers, and everybody has their fucking opinion about what you should or shouldn't do and what you can and can't do. And to be honest, they're all full of shit. They're all full of shit. Like, I'm telling you, like, I'm not, like, the guy who left the comment about you can't get a good deal at a dealership, he wasn't trying to be mean or be a troll. I didn't say the guy was a troll. I think he's somebody that shows up in the comment sections all the time, and seems to be a cool dude, leaves a lot of nice comments and, you know, encouragement, and he was trying to give me some helpful information, and I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem when people just come up with these ultimatums. You can't do this, and you can't do that, and you won't do this, and you won't do that, and that doesn't work, and blah, blah, blah. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something because you can. Yeah, I've applied to fucking closing in on 600 jobs, and I haven't found shit. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to find one. And it might mean that I'm not supposed to find one. It might mean that I'm going to do freelance and I'm going to do some other things and I'm going to figure it out some other way. But, you know, you can find good deals on vehicles from a private seller and you can find good deals on a vehicle from a dealership. You just have to be persistent, and the secret is to be able to walk away, especially vehicles. Walking away when somebody sees that they've got a deal, but you won't see eye to eye, and they know that you want it, but they see you walk away and they might be like, "Oh man, all right, I'll do it." It happens all the time. I go to buy stuff on Craigslist. I hate making this video so long, but I'm telling you, I'll see stuff on Craigslist back in the day when I was in Pittsburgh. If it, you know, not the free section, but like items on sale for items on Craigslist. If something pops up on Craigslist that I'm looking for, and I see that the thing has a good price, and I'm like, that's a great price for whatever it is. When I message the person and ask if it's still available, and then I get a reply, the next message, I always do this. I always say, well, would you take this much? And like whatever that, like if it's $100 for something that would be $300, and I'm getting it for like, I'm getting an almost brand new whatever the fuck for $100 that would cost me $400 or $500. Let's say it's that good of a deal. I'll be like, would you take 80? Do you know how many times people will say, yeah, sure? I'm telling you, more than 50% of the time, if you offer a lower price than what they're asking, they'll just turn around and say, yeah, that's fine. And they won't even argue with you. And you just saved yourself more money. Once in a great while, I will just realize that the price that I'm getting something for is so ridiculously good that I would feel like a complete douchebag to haggle. And so I don't. But it's rare. That silver bullet that I bought, the bicycle, That bicycle's almost, I'm telling you, that bicycle is brand fucking new. I've put more scratches on that bike just riding it in the last couple of months than that bike had the whole time the guy owned it. I'm not kidding. I've done more to that bike. I've put more wear and tear on that bicycle. And I think it was from 2005. I think I can match the graphics and the badges and the I can get an exact year from the serial number. I just haven't yet. But I think it's around a 2005 Specialized Sequoia. Would have been about a $1,200 road bike when it was new. I think about $1,200. Guy had it listed for $300. I could tell from the photographs it was in mint condition, like brand new, like straight from the bike shop, new. And I was like, "Would you take $200 for it?" And the guy was like, "No." And I'm like, "All right." I didn't even argue. I was like, "All right, fine, $300 it is." And I'm like, "When can you meet?" Because I had to do it fast. Because I had a rental van for my move into the tiny house, and that was my window of opportunity to find a bicycle. And so I had 3 different bicycles that I was haggling people over on Facebook Marketplace, but this was by far the best of the 3. All 3 of them were good buys, but the other 2 were willing to haggle. The problem was they weren't being responsive about meeting up. Because I'm like, I will buy this bicycle tonight. Like, and I've been doing this for a week. It wasn't like I just found the bikes that day. But I had been haggling these people for a week and and I already knew I was going to be moving. So I was like, I can meet you Friday night if you're willing to meet. I can even, I can meet you wherever you want. And so 2 of them agreed to the haggle price that I offered, but they just were flaky about meeting up. And I didn't have the flexibility to keep pestering them about meeting up. I had to do it Friday night. I had no other, that was the option. And so the other one, the guy was like, "Yeah, I'll meet you. Just let me know." And when I went and picked up the rental van, I sent the guy a text. He was like, "Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Done." So I didn't get to haggle the price of the bike, but the guy was extremely responsive about meeting me. And when I picked the bike up and looked at it, I'm like, this thing, it didn't look like the guy ever rode the fucking thing, but I think he rode on the cancer Ride for the Cure. He had a bunch of Ride for the Cure stickers on the stem that I peeled off, because I'm like, why? Like, how many fucking, it's like he rode for the Cure like 6 times. And it's like, oh, you still didn't find the cure. How many more times you going to go on this fucking bike ride? What if ivermectin is the cure for cancer and it was $5 the whole time? And you've been riding for the fucking cure for the last 20 fucking years and you didn't find it, but you could have gone to Central Tractor and got a tube of horse paste and cured your fucking mom's cancer for $5. Like, wouldn't that fucking kill you? Wouldn't that be a bitch? I can't wait until they uncover that the cure for cancer has been around for the last 30 fucking years and it would have been like $5. I can't wait until that fucking happens, because this country is going to explode when people find this shit out. But anyway, I'm going to let you go because this video is getting long and I'm just, I got a little bit of a second wind. But as soon as I sit here for a few minutes in a quiet space, I'm going to fall right out. Peace.